Hello Natroners and welcome back to VFX with Natron. And this is our third part. Can you believe it? 3 parts in our puppet animation tutorial, well, exercise, whatever we want to call it. It's whatever. Then there's going to be another part after this anyway. But today we're going to be working on some interesting stuff. First of all, let's talk about the fact that we had the goals of this, of course, were to take a character. We are using this character right here from synfig, and we're going to be rigging it to make an animation, or to make it animate. And I got ahead of myself finally. And I managed to take this thing through what we're going to finish today. Hopefully, we're going to have the rig done today. But I wanted to show, today being the 4th of July, I was debating between doing a specific 4th of July thing and continuing on this. People voted for this, so we're going to do it, probably because it only 4th of July only appeals to the US. But this being 4th of July and myself living here in the grand old United States of America, I wish to bring up our what today's goal. Well, it's not today's goal. What will ultimately be getting towards and aiming towards. So let's take a look. Alright, so now we're over in Natron. We have our character up. This was where we left off on the last episode. We didn't do the right hand leg. I debated about whether this was worth. We did go over the leg and talked about it. I really don't think there's anything new that it didn't vary that much from what we did with the arms, and we did go through the 2 arms. The only difference was, of course, we had to, rig up the multiple parts, and I showed off the various bits. But after going through and actually, rigging this all together and animating it, one of the things that came to my attention, there were several things that came to my attention. We linked in bits, as we know, this little node right here, this merge node here, is our layer of all the different components coming together into one. This spot here was set aside for the left leg. But one of the other things I noticed is that we had made the pelvis area, or the body, go behind the right leg, and it turned out that that was actually not such a good idea, because it led to, when I went to animate it, it led to a lot of issues. So I went ahead and skipped a bunch of stuff, and I'm going to go over what changed. First thing I want to do is bring up, this is where what we had originally done for the pelvis area Roto Node. You can see we just did a square to isolate the pelvis area, and this was another area that I'm not crazy about how they had originally trimmed this out. I don't like this. It doesn't animate very well. There's a lot of times when, no matter what I did, whether I had the legs in front or in the back, I couldn't get this to, there was always this pointy bit that would poke out from that pant corner. So when I skipped ahead, I went ahead and I made this is the new version of it. What I did is I dimmed down a bunch of stuff. I basically added the legs back in. I color coded everything, labeled more or less everything. But we're going to go through, and I'm going to talk about the fact that we should rename. Oh, excuse me. We do want to rename our bits, and it's going to make controlling it a wee bit easier, and I'm going to actually explain why. And I didn't want to skip ahead on that because it's very important, but I did want to show the Roto, that I changed this Roto node so that now this I just trimmed off the corner here so that the pants were a little more rounded there. And if we close off this, we can actually see it's much more rounded right in here. And that little bit of extra rounded versus having a nice sharp edge makes all the difference in the world. Really, seriously, when you rig things, you really need to trim your rotos and so forth so that they look good. Anyway. So the other thing that I did is obviously I added in the other leg. I've got it all properly lined up and set up with its various rotos set up and various bits. Oh yes, and the other thing I did is I figured out I made a boo-boo. Me? Make a boo-boo? Unheard of. No, but seriously, what happened is I kept blaming Natron for, and we even shot Natron over the fact of something that, believe it or not, was my fault. I had reversed the two nodes when it came to locks. Turns out the problem was you don't lock the stuff before you do your transform. You transform, then you do your lock. Or I shouldn't say that. You don't transform, then you do your lock. What you do is you zero out. All right, let me show you. This is the pre. This is where it is with the transform set to 0. Okay. And what we do is we do the transformations on the lock itself so that it positions it to where it needs to be. So up here on a lock, we can see we did all the offsetting in the lock. But what that does is because this and this both share the same space or the same coordinates, when we hit 0, 0 on our actual leg control or leg animatable control, it will always reset it to wherever it's supposed to be. So in this case right here, if I go, I can take it and I can move my animation control off to the side and I can rotate it around and, you know, do whatever I need to do. But when I want to if I've made a mistake, I can just hit 0, bring that back, 0 this out, and bring that back. But here's the problem here. All right, now to animate this, the biggest problem we have now that we have a fully articulate character all here, all made, and we've got all the bits locked off and everything done, and all these various controls here. We've got like dozens of controls stuck around. Oh yes, I also recolored things so it was a little easier to spot our bits. On the right side, we have these aqua blue for our actual controls, and on the left side, we have these kind of pinkish controls. That way we could identify the left and right sides. And that was originally my control. Oh, and in the center, I kept things yellow, although apparently in this version, I didn't color code the whole thing. Anyway, but the point is I want to go over all that because we need to lock this. We had to lock this because we're going to actually, I came to the conclusion that all these controls, if we were actually going to animate these, the problem is we'd have to click on something and then we'd want to adjust something, and then we might, if we accidentally, I found out a couple of times when I went to animate something, I meant to move the transform and I ended up moving the center point, and that's the biggest no-no. That basically killed everything. I had to go back and figure out what my center point was. It threw off all my animation for that control up to that point. It was a nightmare. Don't want to have you guys do that. So if we're going to do this, we're going to do this right. We're going to do it the proper way, which means we lock everything. So just all you got to do is anything that needs to be locked, like the arms. That's mainly the arms and the legs. You'll see I put a control here. I put a control right here. These are locks. The locks are the darker colors. And I put at the bottom for the transformation of the actual legs. Almost everything else is going to be naturally zeroed by default, and other than the legs and the arms, because we had to position those parts around, and obviously the torso bits. But most of the torso bits we're just going to be rotating for the most part. We will be actually controlling some bits, but I wouldn't worry too much. We're gonna anyway. So how do we go about making a control, or a single solitary control for this whole thing? The first thing we need to do is down here, we need to look at this. We want to make a control. All right. we also should zero out all things. So let's go back to our shoulder control and zero this out. And one of the things you'll notice is that I realized this. I had created my lock before without zeroing out the rotation on the lock. The rotation on the lock should have been zeroed as well. So let's zero zeroed that out. So everything's locked and everything's back to where it's supposed to be. All right. So after this merge control where it merges everything together, let me just make sure I'm doing this at the right place. I do have these reversed. Okay. I think I do. No, I don't. No, I got it. I got it right. You'll notice that also A2, A2. So A was the left leg. A3 used to be the right leg, but now A3 is the body. A2 used to be the body. That way the leg again appears behind the body, and that will help. It'll help keep this element of the crotch in place in view for when we're lining the leg back into position. It will make our lives a lot easier. All right. So I created this extra little dot down here as a placeholder. We're going to just add a transform node down here. And we're going to color this transform node. First thing we're going to do is make it bright green, because this is going to be our master control. And we're going to change this, and we're going to call it control. All right, and we're going to call it control 1. By the way, make sure every one of your nodes, when it's named, has a number after it, because we're going to be naming our controls in our controller after we're going to name them in it. All right, we need to actually go. So we've made user properties before, but what we're going to do is create a new user page, a control page. So we're going to click on this little gear here and click on manage user parameters. And we're going to click on this add to add a new custom page. All right, so we click on this. It says we don't have a page set up for user parameters. It's going to want us to add one. So what we're going to call it is animation control. Control. All right, and we're going to keep it animation controls. All right, and copy it. That's going to be the script name, no space there. And we're going to put animation controls with a space, and then we're going to just and we're going to hit OK for that. And you can see that it's just wanted something there. And we can see I just hit cancel because I don't want to do anything quite yet. And what we're going to do, first thing first, is we're going to move that all the way up to the top. All right. And that way our animation controls will be the very first tab on this transformation control. All right. Then the next thing we want to do is we want to start picking out, we got to start thinking about what we want to do. Well, i.e. this animation control is also going to be for handling the body as well. So before we do anything else, what I also want to do is I want to make a master control. This control here, if we grab this, let's just explain what this is doing. If we transform this, all right, from its default position, it's going to be able to move the entire character or rotate up and down as a whole after it's been animated, all right? Which is great if we want to do a cyclic walk animation or anything that involves moving the character, or if we want to make it so the character is walking up the hill, we can do that. The problem we don't want to have happen is we don't want to rotate them around the center of the chest, because animations, rarely do you want your animation actually happening from your chest area as far as your movement is concerned. So what we're going to do is reset everything to its default and reset to default. And what we're going to do is just lower the center point, the pivot, down to below his feet. And we're going to zoom in here because I want this to happen approximately at the middle of his feet, so that it's at the base of his left foot but middle of his right foot. All right, that's where we're going to be animating from. And the other thing I also am going to do, let's just get that right about, that's good enough. All right, and Yeah, we're going to move that over just a little bit. Not quite there. We'll put it at 160. And we're going to get rid of these we're going to get rid of all these fractions. I don't like fractions in my animation controls, because they can all throw things off. And I'm going to actually push that up one notch so that I actually want it at the base of that shoe right there and about where the front of his leg is. All right, so that's where it is. That's where that control is going to lie. And then we're going to go back and we're going to go to manage user controls or user parameters, and we're going to select the animation control, and we're going to go pick. Now we have a problem here. When we look through this, we have this entire list of all these bitty bits that we are completely unnamed, which is unfortunate because I said we were going to animate these based off the original controls. So this isn't going to work. So what we need to do is we need to actually go through and name these. But we're going to name them in an important way. One of the other problems is that list that we just saw is alphabetical. And so if we put something that's W down at the bottom for waist, that's going to end up way down at the bottom of the list, whereas, you know, P is going to wind up somewhere else. If we do something, I'm not thinking of an A off the top of my head, but we don't want that up at the top. So what we're going to do here is we're going to rename the actual controls. So we're going to go up here to the neck, and we're going to call this neck 1. All right, but instead of it being neck 1, we're going to put one neck 1, and there's a reason we're going to do that. By putting that 1 at the beginning, it's going to move it all the way to the beginning of or it should, if I'm not mistaken. Let's just double check that. By putting one neck 1, we're going to test this out and see if neck 1 now appears at the top of our control list. All right, so let's go over, manage our user parameters, select this, click on pick, and I'm hoping that we're going to see 1, and we're not seeing it. It's way down at the bottom. Oh yes, it's way down at the bottom. All right, that doesn't work. I don't like that. We're going to find something. All right, we're going to do something that's bad, and we're going to do something that it's going to be useful. For now, what we're going to do, this is dangerous. Very, very dangerous. Do not do this normally. We're going to put an underscore. And the reason that you don't put underscores is when you start setting up animation controls, as soon as you try to edit it, I'll actually demonstrate it right now. This underscore is going to put that at the top. Underscores are great from putting things at the top of the list, but I'm going to show you why that's a problem before we continue doing it, so you understand what we're doing and why it's dangerous. So I'm going to pick, and you can see neck 1 is right at the top. We select it out of our list, translate, and one of the other things we have is we have no groups right now, and we're going to want to put these things into a group. So for right now, I'm not going to put it in a group, and I'm going to hit OK. All right, and it's going to add it to the page animation controls, and it puts it there. And we're going to hit Control Close, and you can see instantly that made animation controls appear as an actual tab on a thing, but all it says is translate X. All right, and that tells us nothing. If we have 400 controls here and they're all called translate, we're never going to be able to tell which translate is which. So I think what we really want to do is create an organized system for these controls. So we're going to go into our manage user parameters, go back in here, and we're going to add a special thing here. And we're going to go into the type of thing, and we're going to create this thing called group. And we're going to call this neck, whoops, we're going to call this neck group, or head group, actually. Head group. G-R-O-U-P group, and that's fine. And we can just call this head. All right, for our label. We're going to keep this. We're not going to make it a tab. We're going to just keep it called a straight group. and then we're going to hit OK. Now, it's important. It's very important when you do groups that you determine whether the group is going to be a tab or a twirl down group ahead of time. We're going to do a few of our groups as twirl down groups for the body parts, the center body parts. We're going to do those as groups. And for the limbs, we're going to, aka the arms and legs, we're going to do those as tabs. And it will probably make sense. And the reason we're doing that is because it's very easy to get confused with when you're animating a specific limb, if there's multiple limbs in a thing, and it can clutter up your interface, even though, well, anyway. All right, let's see what this group does. When we add the group, we're going to put it there, and you can see that on our control tab, it added this head with a little arrow next to it, or caret as it's called. All right, and what this caret does is it's a twirly, and when you can either twirl it up or twirl it down. All right, so we're going to go back. Let's manage our controls, and we're going to go into edit this neck translate. All right, and when I go to edit this, watch what happens when I go to hit OK. It throws an error. It says this parameter must have a unique script name that only contains small a through z, capital A through z, and digits 0 through 9. AKA, we cannot use underscores if we go in and manually try to modify this script, which we're going to be doing at a later point in time. So it's very, very, very bad. We cannot have that. This is why you're not supposed to use underscores. I've warned people, don't ever use an underscore. Underscores are bad. It can screw up things. All right, don't ever name your properties with underscores. Don't use spaces. Don't use anything, because you cannot ultimately name things. If you're going to use spaces, if you want to use spaces, name the stuff in the names tab or whatever, or just stick with using what's called camel humps, which is where you put the word with a capital letter after each thing. All right. Anyway, for right now, we're going to have to close this because we want to continue adding our parameters before we get rid of that underscore. So what we're going to do, actually, let's do, I didn't want to close that. We're going to do, let's see, actually, I'll take it back. We can change this. What we need to do is basically, we need to rename this. We can get rid of that underscore. We're going to just get rid of the underscore from that. It's not a big deal. But here we're going to put, we're going to have to put in, here we want to give it an identifier. Neck. Now that I'm thinking, this may work. I don't know. Well, let's see. All right. This is our next neck translate. All right. And what we want to do is change it. We're going to change it to neck translate, and then we're going to put it like that, so it's identified as neck translate. We're going to keep the defaults for its maximum and minimum, but we're going to assign it to the head group. All right. And then we're going to keep it like that. It's a floating point. It's a 2D floating point. We hit OK. We hit, you can see that it added it to the group, and which means we can twirl it closed in here. It also means when we're out here, we can twirl it, but we can't do it while this is open. And let's close that and take a look. Now we can do it. Let's make sure that's actually working. I want to make sure that's working beforehand. Underscores can be bad. I really don't recommend underscores. It makes me very nervous. Also, here's the other thing. The other reason is if you had animated that control before you made this control, the animation when you initially connected it would transfer in, but the second we rename the script, it will destroy all of the animation to it, which is really, really bad, and then you lose everything that you've done to that animation, which is not what you really want to do. And that's why, again, it's really, this is a dangerous thing. Don't use underscores normally. In fact, what we're going to do after this is done is we're going to rename everything. So, all right, let's go back and manage user parameters. We're going to do a pick, and we're going to go back to that neck. And we're going to go to our list, switch to rotate. We're going to add it to the group. We're going to hit OK. And then we're going to go pick. And we're going to go to neck. We're going to do scale. Now you're saying to yourself, scale? What are we doing scale? I'll show you in a few minutes. We're going to do add it to the head group. We're going to hit OK. All right. And those are the 3 controls we're going to add. We're going to basically be repeating this same thing for every type of node that we have. All right. So let me just show you the next problem. All right. We're going to just close it for right now. I want to rename this now that that's been done from neck to neck 1 to straight neck 1. All right. We've eliminated it. And then we're going to go back to the user parameters. All right. And just to demonstrate, by the way, that this is going to change things. Oh, we can't do a keyframe there. Never mind. I've already connected it up. It's blacked it out. Let's go back to our user parameters down here. If we go to the user parameters for that, you'll notice that our script name still retains that underscore from the link because it automatically named it. So when we edit this to change something, we're going to have to eliminate that underscore, and we want to add neck to the neck space rotate so that it says we know that we're dealing with the neck on the rotation. The other thing we want to do is this is a rotation. So if it's rotation, or angles, I don't really care about how far we want to go maximum and minimum, but what we do want to do is make it, when we get this, we have a slider here, and I want to make it so that that slider operates the way we think about it, the way we want it to operate, which is basically from negative 360 to positive 360. That way we can rotate it backwards or forwards. So for the display minimum, what we're going to do every time we get to these controls, we're going to put in a minus 360 for the display minimum and change this 100 to 360. So it's 360. This is minus 360 to 360. The default value is going to be 0 because we don't want any rotation to it. And you can see it gives us a nice tooltip, saves us the trouble of having to type that in as well. And I think that's good enough for our neck. And so we hit OK, and you'll notice it added it and it eliminated it, and it really didn't. There are numbers there. We just can't see them because they're too small. And also, we're probably not going to use it all that much, but like that. But anyway, let's edit this one. Again, change it from underscore neck scale, put in neck scale for the name. And we'll put it, make sure it's in the head group, and I'm perfectly happy with this. Yes, that's perfectly fine. All right, so there we go. We have all our bits named for that group. Now we want to add another group. We're gonna create another group. Well, this is going to be the torso, T-O-R, torso, and we're going to make it a T-O-R-S-O, and you'll notice we're not adding a 1 to it. We don't need to add ones. I don't think I named the other one neck 1. Anyway, we're going to make that just make sure this is going to be a group, not a separator. We want to keep it like that. We're going to go OK. And now we have a group named torso. All right, we're going to close that. We need to go to our torso, select that, change this to underscore torso, torso 1. Now, the reason we're naming the nodes, we're putting ones after it, is if I imported a second character into this, or the same character a second time, I want to make sure it increments, and we need to give it an incremental value. Otherwise, Natron might get confused and might name the same thing, and we wind up with the problem if that happens. So we're keeping it underscore torso 1. Go back down, and while we're at it, we might as well go over here. Let's just change this to underscore waist, and so on and so forth. And I might skip ahead here to the next part to show what we're going to ultimately end up with, so that we can see go on to the next part. I actually don't. Let's see if I can open. This was part 6, all right? No, open. Let me just see if opening project 6. Did I make a 6? I thought I made a 6. Let's see if this has, if part 6 has all the bits into it. Uh-oh. That's the problem we run into. You notice that? That was when I was 99% sure that that was going to happen. 6 is damaged. Why? Because it was missing the, I hadn't renamed them and I had the underscores in it and I didn't catch it early on and then it screwed up. So it's very important that we rename these things before we save it or we could wind up with really bad information. All right. Oh, I didn't want to skip that far ahead. We're going to keep at this for a few more minutes and basically what we're going to do, let's skip over and just do a limb just to talk about this so we can see. So what we did is under the controls, we added the things and we would let's add the torso into it so we can see how the torso would do. All right, so we'll go up here and we'll go to this. We're going to manage user parameters for the selected torso. Go pick, go to the torso 1. We're going to do translate. We're going to put it onto the torso group. We're going to hit OK. We're going to go pick torso 1, rotate torso group, pick torso 1, scale torso group. All right, so I've added all 3 of them. All right, now we need to edit this parameter, change it so that it no longer says that, has the underscore, put in torso, torso, space, translate, torso translates fine, edit. Also by eliminating that, we know we've actually modified it so we don't have to do it again. So torso, T-O-R-S-O, underscore rotate. Here we want to put minus 360 to 360. And we're going to be good. That's good. And for the scale, we're going to edit that, and we're going to change this to from underscore torso scale to and type in torso. But no, I keep doing the wrong thing. Getting ahead of myself with me typing. All right, there we go. So we have that. We're going to close that. So now we have 2 bits, and we can see that we can close them down so that we can minimize. This is really useful from the standpoint of if we want to, when we're animating controls, we really want the ability to hide and access the bits that we want anytime we want. And while this might sound great from the standpoint of limbs, but I want to show the limbs that we're going to, because as I say, we're going to do the limbs different. So the limbs, let's first of all unname the torso 1. And just so that we don't accidentally corrupt this file, I'm going to undo the waste one. And I'm going to go over, I'm going to do, oh boy, what you want to create. We're going to create several tabs. All right, so let's go up to, whoops, not waste. We want to go back down to our controls. We want to go here, manage new user parameters. We'll twirl these down. We're going to click on add. We're going to type on this limbs, L-R-M-B-S, limbs. Label is going to be L-R-M-B-S, limbs. We're going to make this let me just think about this. We're going to make this a separator. So we don't want it, we want it on page animation controls. We don't want it to be a group. We want this to be a separator. All right. And we're going to go OK. And that's going to put this limbs separator here. So that's going to, we can, by the way, we can rearrange this stuff by moving them up and down. You can see over here, we can move it up and down. This does create a problem when, with tabs. You always want to keep tabs close to the bottom, but we're going to put limbs here so that we know that the limbs are going to go below it. We're going to add, I think, we're going to call it, I'm going to call this R R-A-R-A-R-M. All right, for right arm. And then we're going to call this right shoulder. Actually, right. I'm just thinking. Right shoulder. Right shoulder. All right. So we have it. That should be fine. We want to make this a group. We're going to tell it the group is a tab here. And we're going to hit OK. And you'll see that it added this right shoulder tab. All right. And we're going to add another tab just so that we understand what this does. All right. And then we're going to go. We don't have a right elbow here, but it will make. Actually, oh crumbs. No, I did want to name that right arm. No. I did that wrong. Let's delete that. I wanted to add. I'm sorry. This should have been R-A-R-M. Sorry. And this should have been right arm. Because this is going to hold all the controls for the right arm. Alright, so we're going to make it a group, and we're going to make it a tab, and we're going to go like that, and we're going to, there we go. Now it's right arm. Alright, because we're going to put the right shoulder as a control inside of the right arm. Alright, so now we need to add another tab. We're going to call, another group, we're going to call this left arm. So L, arm, and we're going to put, and don't worry if it's not named exactly perfectly, left arm. And then we want that to be a group, and we want it to be a tab. All right. And the reason I want to point this out is you'll notice that the tabs are placed side by side. This keeps it organized in an easy way. That way, when you're dealing with a limb, you will know you're dealing with only that limb. That keeps it organized in a clean, simple sense. And we can always, if we're copying between, we can always copy the values. We look at the thing, we mentally connect and select the correct limb that we're working with before we start manipulating things. All right. So, all right, let's add something to it. All right, let's close this. And we're going to go over here to the arms, and let's see. We want to, all right, the parts of the arm that we're going to want to deal with. We want to get this transform. You know what? We don't actually have to rename this to right. We can just put an underscore on here. And we can put an underscore on, an underscore on this as well. And an underscore on this radial here as well. And this will all make sense when we do that. All right, so I put three underscores onto our thing, or onto our controls, and we go back into our controls and into our control group. We go to manage user parameters. We go down here, we select right arm, we go pick, and you'll notice that we have this. And we're going to put, actually before we do this, we want to add, and here what we want to do is create a separator called shoulder. And this we're going to put, we're going to put our shoulder. Our shoulder. And we don't need to put a thing there. We're going to just put in here for the thing. shoulder. And we're going to tell it that's a separator. All right. And what that's going to do is it puts shoulder there. Then we're going to go pick. And we're going to pick our transform. All right. And we want to pick its translate. And we want it to be in the right arm. Okay. Oh, it says Arn. Oh, well, we can't fix that. Don't worry about it. It's not a big deal that it's not named correctly. Then we want to go pick, transform. We want to go to the rotate, which I happen to accidentally get right. Go to, oh, no, it is. I did name it right. It just truncated it. It just looks weird. All right, there we go. And then we want to go pick, and we want to pick that, and we want to go to the scale. Those are the three controls we want for every single thing, all right? So now we see that by doing that, we don't have to name those individual bits. Well, but we're going to, because when we actually get to animating, and we pull up the animation controls in, well, I'll show you that actually in 2 seconds. And there's also going to be another one. We're going to actually add one more separator. We're going to add a separator here, and we're going to call this our elbow. Okay, and then we're going to put an label is elbow. All right, and we're going to make that a separator, and it's going to be on our arm, and we hit OK, and that puts it below that. We could if we did this out of order, we can reorder these just by clicking on them and hitting the up down. We're going to do pick, and for this we're going to go to radial 1 is the first one. Radial 1 is the first one, and what we want to do is select the mix node or the mix control. All right, and we want to put it on the right arm, and we want to hit OK. And then we want to pick again, and now we want to pick radial 2, which is the second control. And we're going to go here to the mix. We're going to pick right arm, and it's on there, and all right, everything looks good. All right, so there we go, and they all look wrong. They look incorrect. So we're going to go down here. We're going to go to edit this one, and we're going to change it so that, and first thing we need to do is go up here and eliminate from the script name that underscore so that it will actually save correctly. And then we're going to call this shoulder translate, and we actually want to put R first so that we know it's the right shoulder, because we're going to have a left shoulder as well. And when we get into the animation graphs and the dope sheet, we won't know which one's which because from the controller itself. We actually can only tell from the name on the left, which is going to be whatever this label is. All right. So this is a right shoulder. This is a floating point. So this is fine. This is the shoulder, which is a translate for the shoulder. Let's edit this. Yes, we want to edit this one. We're going to change that. This is going to be our shoulder rotate. And this one, we need to, again, negative 360 to 360. And mind you, I'm only going to be doing this one shoulder. We do the same process to the arm, and then we would add the same controls to the leg, and etc. So on and so forth. All right. So we're doing the scale now, and I'm going to show. We're going to do our shoulder spice, and I in the minus 360 to 360. Right, and I want to make sure that I got rid of that underscore so it doesn't throw an error. And there we go. I think that's all of them, and it should be good. All right. Oh yes, we need to edit that's the shoulder ones. Now we need to edit the radials. All right. So we have two radials. Radial 1 was the. Let me make sure I've got the right thing here. Let me close this for a second and go back up here to our arm and look at it. All right. So radial 1 is the one that handles the stretch. So that's our scale. So we're going to go up here and we're going to go. Manage user parameters, go down to, we can control these to make our lives easier, except for that's where we want to be. We're going to go edit this, and we're going to remove the underscore, and we're going to rename this completely. What we're going to do is call this elbow scale. All right, and that's going to be used to make the arm stretch a little bit, and we're going to keep it its defaults. We're not going to change anything. And we're gonna also, I'm also going to demonstrate that this is actually better. If I had known this worked the way it does, I would have recommended doing this to anytime you do. By the way, I highly recommend anytime you're going to do warp field distortion, highly recommend making a control panel for it. Holy cow, wait till you see what we can do. This is going to be cool. Very cool. All right, this is so cool. You're going to be absolutely amazed at this. We're going to break Natron, I think. I think this is should have been reported as a bug, but it's not a bug. It should not get fixed because it's great. It's wonderful. It eliminates a flaw in the system that bothered me, and it's going to make things work great. So okay, so this is our did I do right elbow? Oh, I better double check that one. Elbow. This is rotate. All right, so right elbow rotate. And yes, this one is only a stretch one, so it can't really have a negative. So we're not going to do a 360 thing. That's a 0 to 100. That's exactly what we want for this particular thing. All right. And we can see that says this elbow scale there. So I already know I did mess that up. So we're going to go back up here and just add an R spice elbow scale. All right, there. That way we see that that's a scale. We're going to close that. All right. And so we would add the same types of things to this. But I want to show you a couple neat things about this. So here's a really cool thing about this. You'll notice, by the way, when we did this, that it reset this to its maximum values, which is not always the best thing in the world. But this is great because we can scale this manually to 1. Now, here's where this is cool. This is why this is actually better than, let's first of all zero both of these. All right. So it's just to verify that our scale works. We can go between, let's just grab this. And when we go from 0, we go up to 100, and lo and behold, we go up to 100 and we say, wait a minute, what just happened? 100. That's not what we actually wanted. We wanted it to go to 0 to 1. Wait a minute. The mix control's going from 0 to 100. Wait a minute. That's screwed up here. I actually discovered this because I was thinking, oh, I wanted it to go there. And I was like, wait a minute. We passed by what the mix limit end is? And the answer is yes. Apparently, we can overshoot. Unlike the mix controls on an actual node, if we link the mix control to an actual floating point variable, we can overshoot them. We can overdrive them, which is great because this means we can overdrive and we can create animations that are overdriven and overshoot all animations for anything. That's mix control, which means warp field distortion. Had I known that, I would have added warp. I would have made everybody add a warp field control specifically for controlling that onto every warp field object that you add. Oh my goodness, this is great because anyway, we don't want to do that. We want to just look at this from the standpoint of 1. What we can do, as we can see, I can stretch it beyond 1. I can take it up into 2 and back down. In fact, I can take it into negative, so I have complete control. I can warp it in either direction. It's as if the mix control was actually a directional control of whatever moving in whatever axis, and it gives you a single control, so it means you don't ever have to. If you want to do diagonal movements, you can do the diagonal movements with the mix control, and you can do overshooting. That's great. Oh, Natron. Love that. Great. All right. So we're going to zero this though. We don't want it at -1. We're going to keep it at 0. We are going to go in here, however, and manage our user controls. By the way, in my test bed one, it's probably still broken. I just worked within what I had because I wasn't planning. So here for our controls for the elbow scale, we want to actually change this so that it's not 100, it's 1. It's 0 to 1, all right? And same with the rotation. We want to change that. The rotate, instead of 0 to 100, we want it to be 0 to 1. So delete that and hit 1. And now hit Control. And now when we do it, this is our normal operation parameters of operation. So it works just like the mix control would. So we can do that. But we also can overdrive. I can push it in the negative value if I want to. I mean, it's squishing it way too much, which is not what I wanted. I don't recommend it, you know, but, you know, for a little bit of overshooting, it's not bad. And anyway, so let's set this back to 0. And I just want to, for the sake of this, before we shift to the next bit, because this is running long again. What I'm going to do is that we're going to look at this. First of all, we're going to save this as a new project version right here, so that we have this as potentially the starting point. Oh, crud. I have underscores. I need to eliminate those underscores or it might break. We're going to just let this save for a minute. All right, we're going to eliminate those underscores, get rid of them. Oh, yeah. All right, underscore. Let's get rid of those underscore. Gone. And get rid of that underscore there. Do we do it over here? I don't think so. I just want to make sure it's all nice and safe and ready to go. All right, so that's basically it. The only other thing I did do is I added a control on here for actually controlling the controls. All right. So this is going to be it. I'm going to just save this again over itself. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up the final rigged character, so to speak. And because that's where I want us to be. And I want to show how it works. All right, just a little bit before we end the day. I know this is a long one. These are always long because we're dealing with a complex topic. All right, so we're going to go open project, and I think, let me just verify. I did started because I didn't want to, I did these things called T2s. I'm hoping this works. Come on, T2. All right. I think this might be... Oh, no, this was... Oh, did I do all the controls? Node. Oops. No, I didn't. This is before I added the controls. All right. Shoot. I should have shown that one. File. Open project. We're going to take... pot 2. We'll try to. I save increments along the way just in case. It's a very good idea to do that. Highly recommend. If worst comes to worst, I'll pull up the 4th of July one, which is complete with animation to show this off. All right, yes, here we go. So here we can see all of the bits are linked together. All right, and all the controls have been added. Here we go. We can see it. Here's our character controls. I called it character controls, animation controls. It doesn't matter. But the point is that here we can see that we have access to. Oh yes, and I added another thing. I'll talk about these in a moment. Let's disable those for the moment, because we're gonna get into that really with the. Well, I'll bring it up from the standpoint of animation. Just so that you guys are ready for the next time. Because I might upload this, guys, so you guys can... Actually, this might have an error with it, now that I'm thinking about it. There is a bug I found out later, but I will make... I'll talk about it. Turns out, I just want to bring this up. I'll bring this up to mention it. Under your Roto nodes, if you move through time and you adjust your rotos in time... you will see in your curve, you'll get this animation curve, and I don't know if this is going to show anything. Here we go. All right. We can see that there's this dot here. This is the most annoying thing. It doesn't, if you move anywhere in time, you can see that that's not at 0. So if I did a change to my Roto Node, any aspect of my Roto Node, at any time, it would, it adds a new dot. It doesn't matter. It's the only way to get rid of them. You can't delete them from the actual animation control for the given thing. You can't see how it says spline keyframe. If we go here and we go forward to the first keyframe right here, it says spline keyframe 1, which you can see is this right here. You can see it has a blue keyframe. I don't want that keyframe there. That's where I manipulated it. I don't want it. It causes issues. Let's see if it actually changes things. You can see the overall control. If we go back to 0, all the bits here are changing. See that? How they're pointing outwards of pointing inwards? That causes issues when you go to manipulate things. So, what I found out, now I was trying to track down this weird bug where things started disappearing as I was animating. Turns out it's a Roto Node. What we have to do to keep that is go into the Roto Nodes. If you find a dot like this, select it in the curves editor like so, select all of them, but make sure you have your animation control or your timeline control before where you want it to default to, and then hit delete. All right. And I deleted it, and you'll notice it got rid of it and it defaulted, and now there's no animation on this, and that control will not disappear. Let me show you why that's a problem. I know I have another example somewhere. What was this? This was Roto 7, which I believe was Roto 7 3. That's the leg. All right, so let's look at Roto. Let's look at this Roto here. This is the arm. Select the animation. No. Let's, all right, I think it was this one. Roto 5. Bet it was here. There we go. See this? That's, remember I said I went and I adjusted the animation on it, or the shape of it. Well, it turns out I didn't do it at 0, 0. So when we go to this and looked at it, we can see that it's actually, you can see that it's reforming itself. There's what I want, and there's what it was. So it's deforming, right? That's no good. So we want it right there. So what we want to do is select it there, hit delete, get rid of them, and that should have, that's interesting. It's causing it to do a weird inny-outy thing. Well, I don't know if that's going to be a problem. Let's just make sure it's not going to be a problem. That doesn't seem to be a problem. All right, anyway. But the key is you want just go in and get rid of them after you've done your animation. And actually, this looks like, oh, foo. It deleted it wrong. We want to, crud. All right, let me go back, get rid of that. All right, I want to make sure I get rid of the correct one. Let's see if we get, oh, stop that. Oi. I want to make sure this is working correct. Was it? It was the lower arm, right? No, it was, yeah, no. No, it was the lower arm. That's why we're not looking at the right thing. It's the lower arm that should have had, well, whatever. No, it is. It's a problem. It's a very big problem. All right, we need to revert this. Anyway, what I wanted to do, you want to delete the animation. The key is make sure that you create a keyframe of it at the shape, delete all the other keyframes other than the one that has it at the proper shape, then delete that as your secondary action on. And I didn't do that, and now it's all screwed up. All right, so I think we may have caused Natron. Oh no! Don't get all finicky on me, Natron. Stop it. Be nice. Behave. Let's revert this. I'm going to just revert this. Reload this project. Discard. Just to make sure. I want to talk about some certain properties here for you all, so that you can see how it works. Again, this is a non-animated, or should be a non-animated version of this character. My apologies for this bit of a pause. I am going to end this in less than 10 minutes, all right? Oh, yeah. This is when in a non-live video, which this is a live video, by the way. In a non-live video, if I had done what I was originally planning to do, I would have eliminated that little pause, the load time. Sorry about that. All right, so yes, I wanted to talk about the animation of this. So I don't think I have any animation on this. No, I don't. I also have this set up for, I wanted to do a 25 or 24 frame cycle, which is from 1 to 25. So we can sit here and you can see that I've restricted my range to 25. So if we're doing it, uh-oh, I seem to saw something sputter. This is saying it's live. I'm seeing some stuttering on my video here. I'm hoping it's not nothing major. All right. I don't see, it didn't say any, oh, wait a minute. Let me just double check. No dot frames. All right. I just need to double check something. We're good to go. All right. We're back. All right. So, what I wanted to point out is over here. If we go over here and we look at this, we have all these controls. You can see we have all these controls that we can stretch. So, I can take it. You say, why would you want a stretch on the head? Why not? You might want to say, what happens if I want to, for example, make the head taller for some reason, or make the head fatter. There's no good reason in what we're doing, but you never know. You know, you never want it. You'd never do it that much. But what we might do is just take it up like a little bit like this, so that we can make him bobble up and down as he walks. You can add a little bit of a jello to his head as he walks, which could be nice. I'm not going to say it is nice. That's up to every individual animator and how you animate it. We can also do, the other thing to realize is that with something like the torso, the controls that are below the other ones, if you do scale, they will impact the entire chain above them. So, for example, if I do Y here, if I increase the Y scale here, you can see it made the entire body from the waist up, including the arms and everything that's controlled by that, taller as well. And that can lead to distortion issues because let's, for example, go back to the head for a second and rotate it. Now, there's ways we could do this by making our rig a lot more complicated, but if I rotate my head, you can see that my head is saying it's distorting disproportionately. It's not, the head's not staying stretched in the correct way. So this isn't a perfect rig. As I say, there are ways we could fix this. I just wanted to give us the ability, that if we wanted to make him bobble or something during a walk, which is mainly what we're trying to do here, or ultimately going to be doing here, we could potentially do this. So let's set our rotation back here to 0. Let's set the scale back to 1. Remember, scale is 1, not 0. 0 would be nothingness. Just to prove that, I'll set that to 0 and boom, it's gone. All right, so that's where that happens. Let's talk about the legs for a second. All right, so why do I have... This leg is translated. That shouldn't have been translated. There we go. I must have been messing with things. The other thing that we want to do around here is you'll notice all these little green lines that will go to our control. That's really nice because it points towards it. Those are all the links done by this to the control, all right, for animation purposes. But the problem we have is that the ones for the body sort of overlap it. So this means that we really want to move this off to the side a little bit, make it so that this just goes off to the side. And the other thing I want to do is for each of these controls here, I want to add something around the actual merge, the master layer. I'm going to show you that because what we want to do is this. We want to take these and put these down here, and I want to just hit a period and put in a little link point. All right, and we're going to do here. We're actually going to. We shouldn't have to do that there. Let's do a period from this. Bring that back up here, like so, and let's here. And go up to like so. So why would we want? Why have I done this? I didn't want to clutter up this interface with a lot of things that are easily done other ways. And because we want to keep this focused on animation. All right, that's the main purpose of this control panel. All right, this over here, what this has done. This is our ability. This is all our layers for all our bits. All right. So if we want to hide a bit, for example, let's say I want to animate my the left leg, which is the leg that's furthest away. I select our left leg. I start moving something like, for example, like now. So everybody remembers the calf rotate because we're working from the heels up. Let's look at how this works. All right, we move this over. All right, I'm moving this over. I want to probably move this up. So that, because this is going to be him planting his foot, all right? He's going to be putting his foot down. That means I'm going to rotate his heel up, something probably around, oh, I don't know, we'll say 25-ish, maybe a little higher. We'll keep it at 25, all right? And then I want to take my left calf, rotate, because the calf, now, by the way, don't look at this control. This control is the control for the character itself. Don't just ignore that for right now. So I want to rotate this. Let's see. I want to rotate this in a positive form. It's kind of hard to see here. I want to make sure. You know what? I think I would look. It would be easier to judge this if I weren't looking at this right leg. All right. Well, how do I get rid of the right leg temporarily? Well, if I want to hide one. Remind you, one limb, all you have to do is disconnect that limb from this input, which this bottom one here happens to be this the right leg, which is over here. If I disconnect that, we can see that leg hides, and now I can position this better. All right, I can say, all right, well, probably I want to have this somewhere around approximately the same as whatever my ankle position is. So if my ankle's been turned to 25, I probably don't want to go more than 5 or so more than that. So I'm going to say, you know what? I'm going to keep it around 28. All right. That tells me that my position of my leg is not quite right. I'll drop this down a little bit. I don't want to. All right. So what are these planes? There's blue and red down here. These are ground planes for each of the feet. All right. The blue one represents the left foot's floor. All right. The red one represents the right foot's floor. That way, when they're both touching the floor, let's zero these rotations out again. You know what? I'm going to just add a keyframe here for a second. Set a key and set a key for this and set a key for all dimensions here. All right. So I'm just going to go forward a few frames because we're going to delete this anyway. So I'm going to zero this out. Zero it out. All right. And I'm going to zero this. And I'm going to zero this. And I'm going to zero this. Just like I said we would. That's the whole reason we made these. We added those locks is so that we could zero them. Right. So now I'll need to reconnect this back so that I get that leg back. Well, the good news is the only one that's going to be coming out of the left side of this merge node is going to be the one that I disconnected. So I can reconnect it. And there we go. We can see what I did here. And this is actually a little off here. I think I didn't actually get these all set up correctly. So this is the blue one, which is the back. we need to, first of all, make sure that these are zeroed. Do not let these have fractional numbers, floating point numbers in them. You want them to be absolute values, so that it lands exactly below the given point. All right, so that it's a good reference. These are guides. That's the way to think of these, is guides. All right, so let's select the red one. We're going to also get rid of those. Get rid of them. It's basically the exact same thing, but set up differently. Now this one's off. I can already tell because the other leg looks like it's zeroed. Yeah, it says it's zeroed, and that's above the toe, so that's not quite right. So we need to actually move this down a little bit. Let's see, that would be the height. So we'll just bring the height down just a smidge. There we go. So what I have it doing is I have it so that it's even with the line below. You can see that this is where the toe is. This is the first dark point on the toe. I consider that the entry point of the floor. I want it to be parallel. This one, it comes in right here. This is where the line starts, and it goes out to here and then up. All right? So that's where my floor lines lie. All right? That will be because 90% of our animations are going to be taking place over touching that line. That is where we want it to, that is our reference point for all our animation when we get to the animation part. Until we get into a thing called stride length, in which case we're going to create some more controls. But I'm just describing why this is done the way it is at this point. So why do we want to have those controls? Well, why do we have that? If we go back to our main control and we eliminate these keys, so let's remove this key for all dimensions, remove this key for all dimensions, remove this key, excuse me, we can see that our left foot is currently above this background. Now, I don't like the fact that I can't see the outlines because this is a black background. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just add another solid over here for the time being. I just want to double check my time. Oh geez, Louise, we're getting we're really close to my maximum. All right, we're going to just do this quickly and do a merge node there. Go up here and there, and now we can see his foot is above, and that is why we would do that. And we can just adjust things, and that's how we go about manipulating the leg. Is we just basically move the leg around and then pull it back. And we'll be going about doing that in the next one. And if I want to do an arm, like a left arm, most of the arm, we're going to be rotating around the shoulder. So here's the shoulder moving back and forth, we can see. And that's pretty much it. And that's as far as we're going to be going today. I will save this as our next one. Save project as. Let's just so we can pick up here. We're going to call this live number 7. And that will be where we pick up on Monday. All right. Well, phew, this was a long one. It's very complicated. I will upload this. Do you realize, so that you guys can play with this, I'm going to upload this to my, to a thing, and I'll put the link into the description. And I just want to thank you all for watching, and like for watching, keep on natroning. See you next time.